Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and this is my review for Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. So dear viewers, just like that beautiful bearded bastard Barry Bertrum, you're probably wondering,
what is this? What is it? What is this?
Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake is, coincidentally, a sequel to Metal Gear. And though this wasn't the first attempt at making a sequel to the original Metal Gear, you can go out and check out a particularly dreadful Nintendo game by the name of Snake's Revenge if you want to see how not to make a sequel to Metal Gear. Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake once again comes to us from the creative genius that is known as Hideo Kojima, and once again stars Solid Snake as he must infiltrate Zanzibar land to rescue a scientist and put a stop to that dreadful machine known as Metal Gear. But is this game better than the original? Well, let me review it for you the only way I know how. Badly. And let's start with what I like about this game. Essentially, this takes everything that the original Metal Gear did. The stealth, the combat, the boss fights, the story, the characters, the visuals, the music, and it improves every single one of them tenfold. And that's exactly what you want from a sequel. And this game has a lot in common with the video game that would 7 years later be known as Metal Gear Solid. There's a love interest who disguises her in an enemy uniform who we have to follow into the bathroom. There's a key that changes shape depending on the temperature. There's a mysterious character who talks to us through the codec throughout the entire game, a la Deep Throat in Metal Gear Solid. There's a sequence where you're running up many flights of stairs pursued by enemy soldiers. There's a fight with a bloody Hind D. In fact, this game is also a bloody remake of Metal Gear Solid. But let's not forget, dear viewers, this game came first. Much like I always do. Ha ha! So if anyone's copying the other's homework, then it's definitely Metal Gear Solid. What I'm trying to say, dear viewers, rather unsuccessfully, is that though this game isn't quite as good, quite as visually impressive, doesn't have voice acting like Metal Gear Solid, this is not a PlayStation game originally. In fact, it originally released for the bloody MSX, which still sounds far too much like Durex for my liking. You know, the condom brand. Oh, you already knew that. Splendid. Just thought I would clarify just in case. Another thing I really like about this game is the fact that we actually get a legitimate boss fight against the Metal Gear. Unlike in the original game where the Metal Gear basically just sits completely still and you essentially just throw grenades at the bloody thing till it dies. And while you're still essentially throwing bloody grenades at the thing until it dies, at least it moves around in this game, which is far more impressive than what it was in the original game. And while this game is substantially longer than the original game, in fact it took me nearly 5 hours to complete this very evening, a lot of that time is spent backtracking, looking for key cards to doors, looking for hidden areas that probably contain something you're going to need. And the game does have this very, very annoying thing where if you don't keep a hold of at least one of a particular healing item, you won't be able to progress at a certain point in the game, which is very, very annoying, but luckily I was using a walkthrough for this particular playthrough, so I managed to avoid any and all game-breaking situations. But this is a very, very good Metal Gear video game, dear viewers. And in fact, if you're a big fan of the original Metal Gear Solid, which we will be playing next, then I highly, highly recommend you play this game if you haven't already. Therefore, I declare that Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake is not as good as Metal Gear Solid, but it's still pretty solid. Ha ha! See what I did there? Yes. I thought it was good. Anyway, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.